Hello, so it is about 12 days until Blood of Olympus is released on the 7th of October, so I thought it was time that I shared some of my ridiculous predictions and theories with you. So first off we have cover analysis. I'll try and insert a picture, but if not, if you could just look at it on a separate tab. So first off, the UK cover, because that's the one I'll be getting, living in the UK and all. So we have Percy Jackson's Final Battle Begins. With the UK editions, they very much focus on these being Percy Jackson books and not so much any of the other 6 main characters. So we have the 7 all on a hill. There is Leo with his hammer, Hazel with a cavalry sword that she's holding wrong. That's not how you hold a really heavy sword, it's two-handed, like ice. Jason with his weird weapon, Percy with Riptide and a shield. Don't think he's fought with a shield since Sea of Monsters. Annabeth with her bone sword. I miss her bronze knife though, because I loved Luke and it's kind of sad that her only memory of Luke is now gone. We have a guy who looks nothing like Frank, not at all Chinese and about 35 looking, with a bow and arrow, and we have Piper with her new sword. So then it's sort of like a purpley coloured hill, and there's a face in it which I'm guessing is Gaia because it's surrounded by like roots and plant looking things, and then behind the 7 is like fiery clouds, so that could either be storm or fire. Could be neither. And now the American cover. We have 2 giants and something that looks like a statue, so maybe it's definitely Greece, so I'm reckoning they're in some sort of Greek temple to one of the gods, I think Zeus probably. And then there's a crane, don't know what that has to do with anything, but it's probably important, or maybe it's just to show that it's not ancient Greece. We have Jason, and he's got centre cover first, and there's lightning bolt, and then there's a clear storm above him, to storm or fire the world must fall. And we have Hazel on Arian and Frank with a bow and arrow. Where are Annabeth, Percy, Leo and the ones we actually care about? Sorry Jason. Future me has just noticed that the 3 on the US cover are actually the 3 Romans. I think we can still count Jason as a Roman technically, so I wonder if that has any significance. So now the Athena Parthenos. So Raina, Nico and Coach Hedge are taking the Athena Parthenos to Camp Half-Blood. I reckon, considering Raina's reputation, she is going to fall in love with Nico, and as always, the male who she falls in love with is going to be like, sorry, you're not my type. Definitely not Nico's type. Will we get a perspective from Nico and Raina? I highly doubt it. I reckon because they're not one of the 7, we won't get a perspective from them, but what we will get is like visions or dreams, like we saw Rachel talking to Octavian via Jason's dream, and then once via an Iris message we saw Percy saw Nico giving McDonald's as an offering to the dead, so maybe it'll be stuff a bit like that. But I'm really excited just for that whole thing because I love Nico, and I do sort of hope that he gets a POV, but at the same time I love the mystery with Nico and I sort of don't want that to go away, if you get what I mean. To storm or fire the world must fall. So I liked Piper's idea of storm or fire being the thing to kill Gaia and not necessarily like the whole world. I reckon if it's storm, it will be Percy and Jason working together, a bit like they did fighting the giant in, I think it was Rome, in Mark of Athena. If it's fire, then of course Leo, but for some reason I feel like Frank will have something to do with it. Maybe he'll turn into a dragon. But because of his firewood, I know like he's got that pouch and everything, and I don't know how they'd fit this in, but I feel like it should come into play. Maybe the whole point of that was just for the Thanatos thing and for some amazing character development, but I still feel like something needs to happen with that, otherwise it was kind of pointless. Now, of course, the dreaded subject of death. So who is going to die? Do we think a boy and a girl will have their blood spill on that thing in Greece that I can't remember the name of? It could be, they could be from the Seven. I'm reckoning either a couple, Hazel and Frank, or Jason and Piper, but to be honest I just don't feel like any of those would die in that way. I just can't see it. I don't even think they're not gonna let Gaia get to that point. And then there's the question of Hazel. I feel like she was kind of brought back because of unfinished business and because she was destined to complete this quest. And maybe after she has completed the quest and perhaps had closure with Sammy, the underworld will take her back, maybe to, is it called Elysium at this time? So a bit of a happier death. And I don't know, I mean, maybe she'd be happy with like Nico in the underworld because he'll visit all the time, but I can, that's like one of the deaths I can see quite clearly happening, just sort of Rory and Amy Styles sort of disappearing, if you know what I mean. And who else could die? I don't think, like, some people say maybe Raina will kill Octavian. To be honest with you, this is a children's book, and although Octavian is undoubtedly a villain, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right for like a child, because effectively she's still a child, and for her to kill another child, it just seems a little bit twisted to me, a bit too twisted for a children's book. Because I think a lot of time, because there are some much older readers, you do forget that it was originally aimed at like 11-year-olds. On a slightly lighter note, Leo and Calypso. I think there's definitely going to be a reunion. What would be the point if there wasn't a reunion? I can't figure out for the life of me how Leo's going to like fit that in with his rather busy schedule of, oh I don't know, killing Gaia, the god of godness. But he swore it on the River Styx, so he has to. That's the whole point of an oath on the River Styx, and an oath to keep with a final breath. It's in the prophecy of the Seven, so it's got to be a big deal. I can sort of see Calypso dying shortly after their reunion, and Leo will have a sort of, why, it was all for nothing, I should have just left her on the island, at least she'd be alive, kind of thing. I can actually see that happening. So Hazel and Calypso are the two deaths I can sort of see happening. Lastly, how is it going to end? So there are two ways I'd really love it to end. Well, I don't want it to end, but it kind of has to, you know, quit while you're ahead and all that. So Camp Half-Blood with all of the Seven plus Nico, Raina, Grover, Rachel, Clarice, the Stoll brothers, you know, everyone they've met along the way, and just sort of sitting around a campfire and just laughing if there's no death, and just sort of reminiscing, a bit like the end of House of Hades, and a bit like the end of City of Heavenly Fire, you know, at the wedding. Or one that I'd really, really love, Percy going back to his mum's house in New York, just stepping into her apartment and just being reunited with Sally and being like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, and then just hugging, and that would just be the perfect ending for me. Just like, I think people have forgotten that Percy has a mum because he's just been on this quest for so long, and I would just really love that as an ending. I would also like Poseidon to show up and like congratulate him at some point, but I don't know how that would fit in with my design for this book that someone else has already written. And from what I've heard, Rick hasn't written an epilogue, and I have to say I'm very relieved, because usually an epilogue is like several years later, and I think definitely with Percy Jackson they do the whole future and kids thing with Percy and Annabeth, and I really don't want that. I didn't like 19 Years Later with Harry Potter, and I didn't like the epilogue of Mockingjay with their children, because I just hate seeing my favourite child characters as adult. I like it when the characters cease to exist after the book ends. Although I do want more, I don't want more, which was why I didn't read the Harry Potter short story, and why I'm always a bit dubious of like sequel series and things like that. So I like a proper ending. I like things to end, and I feel like I'm satisfied enough with their story as children. I don't need an addition to it. I just really don't like seeing them older with children. I don't know why, it just upsets me. So that is all for my Blood of Olympus predictions. I cannot wait for Tuesday the 7th of October. I've pre-ordered my copy and I'm going to pick it up after school. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you've made a predictions video. I'll definitely check it out. Bye bye.